Hello, lovely viewers. My name is Silly Skelly, and I made a show. I have made my own indie animated series, indie pilot cartoon, whatever, called Gizmo and Emery. They travel around the world in their orange helicopter and they get into trouble, they have fun, they make friends, they get lost. All sorts of stuff happens. And I wanted to talk about how I made the show, how I started making the pilot, how I moved on to making episode 2, I finished that as well, and how I have now started making episode 3. All of that I will talk about in this video, so this is kind of a video you can have in the background while doing something else, because I'm gonna be yapping for quite a long time. I hope you're prepared for that. In the background while I talk, I'm going to have footage of me drawing a little picture of the characters. I will also be showing screenshots of the storyboards and the reference sheets of the characters and the animation in its unfinished state as a rough animation. So you'll also get to have a visual peek into the production of episode 1 and episode 2. I will not be showing anything from episode 3, however, because that's still secret. That's not out yet. That's not finished yet. I started making episode 1 in February of 2025. I started with designing the characters. I think their designs ended up evolving as I kept making the show, and now they look the way they do. They look pretty different than they look compared to their original designs. Anyway, I made the characters. I wrote the script for episode 1. It was 6 pages long. A little story about the duo traveling to a forest. At this point, I was thinking it's very likely that I'll only make one episode. I wasn't really thinking that it was gonna be a whole series, so I was making it with relatively low effort compared to what I make now. So the story was quite simple. After finishing the script, I moved on to drawing the storyboards. I storyboarded the entire episode in basically 2 days because I was so excited about working on it and I was having a lot of fun. The entire storyboard of episode 1 was made in one draft, which means a lot of the camera angles, expressions, the poses, they didn't have a lot of thought put behind them, but they were good enough for the first episode. After storyboarding the episode, I moved on to animating it, and at this point you might notice that, hey, aren't you skipping a step there? Shouldn't the voice acting happen now? That's a very valid point. I should have gotten voice actors to voice the characters before animating the episode, but I was so excited about getting to work on the episode, and I also wasn't fully sure if I wanted the characters to have voices. I was still considering making the character dialogue with something like subtitles, for example. So I wasn't sure if I was going to get voices for the characters, but I animated their mouths like they would move if they had voices, so that I could add voices if I changed my mind about that later. So animating the entire episode took something like 5 months, maybe 4 months, I'm not entirely sure. I animated the entire episode in Krita, which is a drawing program, but you can also animate in it. I then put everything together in a video editing software called Olive Video Editor, which is free and good but kind of simple. But it worked well for the first episode. I made all of the music with Beatbox. It's a great website for making music. It's simple but really good and easy to use. After the entire episode was animated, I did make the decision to get voices for the characters, and I made a page on a website called Casting Call Club. I made a page where I explain what the show is, who the characters are, what their personalities are, what kind of voices I'm looking for them. So yeah, after that, I put all the voices into the episode, and it was basically ready to go. I just posted it on YouTube and checked how it would do, and the episode ended up getting 5,000 views. I think it's at 5,600 currently, which is a lot. A lot of people watched it, and I was very happy about that. At that point, I had already made the decision to keep the series going after episode 1, but I think seeing that the episode got a big audience fully made me feel confident that I wanted to finish the entire show. I wanted to make 10 episodes. I believe I made the 10 episodes decision somewhere in the middle of producing episode 1. But I was fully sure about it after episode 1 was out. After episode 1, I immediately started working on episode 2. I remember my original idea for episode 2 of the show was that the characters would find a abandoned mineshaft, and they would find a treasure there, and there would be 3 villains who are like cave divers or miners or something. I ended up scrapping that idea because I felt like the script that I wrote for that story made Emery feel very annoying. I remember after I read the script, or I had written half of the script, I read through it and I was like, Emery is the most annoying character in this script. And that's really saying something because I tried to write the villains to be annoying. So I decided to go back on that. I decided, okay, maybe the mineshaft idea, I can move that for a later episode of the show, or I can do something else with it, I don't know yet. But I decided to scrap that for now, or at least put it on the shelf. And my second idea was that the characters would meet someone called Shade. Shade was this like little purple character with sunglasses, and his dream is to become famous. His dream is to become a celebrity who's loved by people all around the world. And Shade was a character that I started liking immediately after making him, after designing him, after coming up with his personality. I knew I wanted him to be a part of the show. But still, episode two's plot was not finished at that point because my first idea was that Gizmo and Emery would meet Shade in a desert where they would get lost because the helicopter has to do like a emergency landing and they have to figure out a way to get it back up in the air, and they would meet Shade in that desert. I scrapped that idea because I felt like the desert was boring and I couldn't think of a way to make it a place that the viewer would want to learn about. So I decided, okay, I want to make an episode about Shade, but it should not happen in a desert. I sat down to think, okay, what are the absolutely necessary parts for everything to work? And I decided that I wanted it to be a story that communicates that Shade wants to be famous, Shade wants to be a celebrity, but achieving that goal doesn't necessarily make him happy. That doesn't necessarily give him like fulfillment and purpose in life. So I wrote the plot about Shade stealing Gizmo's shrinking machine and bringing it to inventing competition, and I designed the city where the competition happens to be one where everything is built out of bricks. I came up with that idea mainly because I just didn't want it to be like a generic city, so the brick idea felt fun and interesting, and it feels like it fits the world that the characters live in. So, when the script of episode 2 was finished, I sat down to draw the storyboards. Here's some screenshots of that. Here's what some of the scenes looked like and stuff. As you can see, I again, with episode 2, the storyboards were only made in one draft. I could have spent longer on making the storyboards of episode 2, but I just really wanted to get to animating it quickly, and that is also the reason for why I made the exact same mistake with episode 2 as I made with episode 1. I went straight into animating the episode without getting the voice actors to voice it first, even though I already had voices for the characters. Why did I do this? I don't know. I just really wanted to start working on the episode as soon as possible. So I started animating episode 2 again in Krita. This time animating the entire episode only took, I believe, 3 months. And yeah, it was pretty much the same as episode 1. Not much to say here. Here's some stuff on the screen of how the scenes looked before they were finished, and here's some of the 3D models if you want to look at those, because I also made all of the backgrounds in episode 2 in 3D, or almost all of the backgrounds. I believe there's a few that are drawn as 2D drawings, but as I've made the show more and more, I've started realizing that I just want to make all of the environments as 3D models and all of the characters as 2D drawings. I feel like that feels right for the show's style to me. So that's how I'm going to... I think episode 2 might be the last episode of the show that has any 2D backgrounds on it. So once episode 2 was animated, once it was finished, once episode 2 was animated, I got all of the voice actors to voice the characters, record all the lines, stuff like that. I put them in the episode, and for Shade's voice, I decided to pick my good friend, Thinger Manos. He's got his own YouTube channel and he's got his own show called Jalamalepau. I think you should go to Thinger Manos' YouTube channel. You should watch the show. It's got the first episode out now, and I think more are coming if he makes more. Anyway, I got Thinger Manos to voice Shade, and he did an absolutely great job. I think everyone who voiced on both episode 1 and episode 2 did a great job voicing the characters. I feel so lucky to have such great voices for the characters. But yeah, Shade had a voice, everyone else had a voice, everyone recorded the voices. And then episode 2 was on YouTube. I posted it on December 21st. That was quite recently from when the video was being made. And then I started working on episode 3. I haven't done much for episode 3 other than storyboards right now, but I'm working really hard to get it done, and my current deadline for the episode is the end of April 2026. So I think that's when the episode might be coming out, but I might have to delay it, depending on a lot of things. But April's the deadline. And something that's different about episode 3's production compared to episodes 1 and 2 is that it's very possible that I'll get more animators to work on the show. I have a small budget planned out for episode 3, which means I can actually pay people to help me out on it. So you might see a little bit of a difference to how the show is being animated, and you might see a bit of a difference to stuff like how the music sounds and other things, depending on how much money I can spend on the show in the future. But right now, that's everything that the show is. That's everything I've done for the show. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the storyboards and stuff. And I hope this is useful to you if you're working on your own indie animated show, because I know a lot of people have dreams of making their own shows. And I'd like to know if you're working on something, if you're making your own show or whatever, let me know about it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, there's gonna be links to episodes 1 and 2 of Gizmo and Emery in the description, so if you want to go watch them and see how the episodes actually turned out, how the plots are, and how the voice acting sounds and everything, I think you should go watch them. I worked really hard on the episodes, so I'm really happy to get more viewers on it. And yeah, subscribe if you want to. Bye bye.